Okay, so now we are on number 6, and it says do Act 6 on P5, on page 5. So here's Página 5, Actividad 6. So Act 6 stands for Actividad 6. Mucho gusto. Read the conversation and then reply sí o no to the statements. So you're going to read this conversation between profesor y estudiante and then decide whether this is true or false, or sí o no. The people knew each other. So you decide, and you're going to put your answers on this side, right? No, they didn't know each other. And then it says the teacher is a man. Well, his name is Jose Guzman. I know Jose is a man's name, so I'm going to put sí. And you're going to go all the way through and decide whether those statements are yes or no statements. After this activity, you are done with the textbook. So we're going to close that. You're going to go to the next slide, slide number 7. On slide 7, you're working with the workbook. So the link here was incorrect. I took you to the guided practice, and you're going to be working on the core practice. Another mistake that is here is yours says page 1. We did that yesterday. You need to be working on page 2. So make sure you read the instructions here in the Google Classroom so you're working on the correct page. And because this link is incorrect, you've got to go to your digital notebook, go to the core practice workbook link. I'm going to open that up, and we're going to scroll to page 2. So if you have the actual notebook or workbook, then you can just do it right in the workbook. Okay, page 2. So on page 2, you're practicing whether these situations would call for tú or usted. Is it informal or formal? So if you're doing this on a separate sheet of paper because you don't have the workbook, you're going to copy all of these down, all of these phrases, and then you're going to follow the same instructions. Underline the phrases that can be used to talk to other students. Other students would be tú because they're your peers. Then it says circle the phrases that can be used to talk to teachers, which is formal, usted. Now, some phrases may be both circled and underlined. So if you are doing it on a separate sheet of paper, you are copying these down on your paper and then circling or underlining. On part B, you're going to copy down these phrases 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to number your paper 1, 2, 3, 4, copy these down, and then next to it, decide whether this phrase is addressing someone as usted or as tú. If you're doing it on the workbook, you just circle. Is that usted or is that tú? When you get to part C, if you're working on the workbook, then you just number 1 through 5 next to these phrases to make them in logical order. If you are working on a separate sheet of paper, you don't have to number. You can just put these phrases in order. Start with the one that would start the conversation and then keep going in order so that the conversation is in a logical order. And that's it for the workbook page. If you haven't finished Quizlet Learn or Quizlet Write mode, then finish that up because those are also due today. So when you finish this entire assignment, you can go back and finally turn it in and make sure that you finish Quizlet today because it is due today.